Hi folks, another frosty day here in central England, so I'm going to keep off the bike today. I did think about going out, but took a look at the ice and decided that discretion was a better part of valour. So I thought I'd just do a short film on my new Optimate 6. Again, as part of my research of coming back to the bike, you know, 30 odd years ago, people didn't bother with things like this. If your bike started, it started, and if it didn't, it didn't. And you might sort of give it a push down the road just to try to get the engine going, whereas now people seem to be very much into these battery maintainers, or I think as the Americans call them, battery tenders. The idea being that you leave your bike plugged into it during the winter months, so that when you actually go to start it, you don't get disappointed and just hear that sort of dull click or literally nothing at all. So I was wondering which one to go for. My bike actually did come with an Optimate plug actually fitted to it on the battery, and I thought, well, the sensible thing therefore is to actually invest a few quid and actually get one of these. Now my other situation, of course, is I actually live out in the countryside, and we have chickens, we have horses, got a couple of cars as well. And I was thinking, rather than just buy the Optimate 4, which, as I understand it, is the dedicated Optimate for the actual BMW, and I think you can actually buy. In fact, I know you can actually buy an Optimate 4 with a dedicated DIN plug that actually plugs into the power outlet on the RT and GS models, and I guess the other BMs as well. And that would have cost me £78. But I was thinking, with my other needs, the fact that we have a couple of cars that are getting on a little bit in life, that we have electric fencing both for chickens and horse as well. So we have a couple of fairly high duty, high capacity leisure batteries. Then wouldn't it be actually a good idea to actually get one sort of solution that actually solves everything? So that was the basic idea. Now, as you can see here, I've got my my Maypole battery charger. I've had this probably 5 or 6 years now, and we've been using that to recharge the leisure batteries and any car batteries that needed recharging. And I've got to say, from the off really, I was never particularly happy with it. You can see the amp meter there. For some reason the needle seems to be set permanently on 3 amps there, even though the thing isn't even plugged in at the moment. And as well as that, I found that after the first 6 months or so, when I was plugging batteries in, the batteries were getting very warm. And I assume, I'm not an electrician, so I'll give you that health warning now, but I assume that wasn't doing them any good. So anyway, we sort of kept going with it, because I'd actually invested a bit of cash in it. I can't remember, but I think I paid about probably, I don't know, £30 or £40 for that at the time. So I suppose I've had my money's worth out of it. But again, I think that was for me an imperative to actually move on to the Optimate. So, like everybody else in this day and age, you do a bit of homework, don't you? And my decision really was to go for this as the Optimate 6, because it can deal with batteries, I think, anywhere between 3 amp hours and 240 amp hours, which is more than enough to cover my needs. If you've got a battery that's in reasonable condition as well, you can actually leave your battery on the actual unit. So for example, this will also charge up my my ride-on tractor without having to take the battery on. It could also charge up my other couple of cars. If you've got a battery that's in serious condition, then actually they recommend you actually remove the battery to charge it. But what I like about this is it is idiot-proof, and when it comes to electronics, you know, I certainly classify in that. I certainly sort of fall into that class. I like the fact it's got a 3-year warranty. I've paid £90 for it, so this has cost what? So it would have cost £78. So it's just cost me just a few pounds more, hasn't it? Another £12 over and above the what I would have paid for the dedicated Optimate 4 for the BMW version. The sort of DIN compatible and CanBus compatible unit, to actually buy this. But actually this is going to meet all my needs. And again, just looking at a bit of research on the web, it does seem that these things have quite a long life, you know. So you basically you can just basically forget them, and as I say, you get that nice sort of 3-year warranty. So let's just sort of show you what's in the box. So you can clearly see I've actually opened the thing already. I tried to put everything back in to do a proper unboxing, but I wasn't clever enough to do that. So but anyway, you open the box up, and essentially what you get is you get one of these units, and you can see there's all kinds of lights on the front, which again are a little bit of a study in themselves. So let's just put the box just off to one side just for a minute, shall we, while we look at this. So you obviously get the charger unit itself. As well as that, you get a nice, I think a very, very comprehensive instruction manual, which I really like actually, and even I could understand that. You get a set of crocodile clips, okay, so which again seem to be not quite nicely made, and as well as that, then you actually get the sort of standard thing that you can attach to your battery or sort of quad bike or whatever it is you're using on your motorbike, quad bike, ride on tractor, whatever it's going to be. Now, one of the things you might notice here, if you've already got one of these Optimates fitted, so like I said, my BMW RT actually came with an Optimate actually fitted to it, but my first observation when I got this thing out of the box was actually this plug is incompatible, and I've done a little bit of research on that, and I've actually worked out that I think fairly recently, maybe over the last couple of years or so, I'm not sure, but it seems like Optimus have actually introduced a new standard of connection, so actually that will not fit on my BMW RT. So what I'm going to have to do is actually take that old lead off my RT and donate that to somebody who actually wants it, who's maybe got the old Optimus. So if you want that, drop me a line and let me know. And then obviously then sort of fit this new one on. It looks like there's a fuse in there as well. So basically there's actually everything to get you started. Now what I've done already is I've had a bit of a play with it. So I've actually used it to charge up the battery on a very sort of small, I think it's 20 amp hour battery, I think, on my ride on tractor, and that was very successful. I then used it to charge up quite a large leisure battery, and I've got another leisure battery now, which I'm just going to sort of show you how the lights work when we basically attach that. Okay, so that'll be the next thing that I show you. So as you can see, you've got this series of lights on the front of it. So essentially, you'll see in a minute when I actually plug the thing in, you get a green light here. Okay, and it goes straight into test mode, and it's just going to spend a few seconds really just trying to work out what state your battery's in, whether it's total scrap or actually whether it's in quite good nick or somewhere in between. And then essentially what it does then, it goes through a series of 3 different stages in terms of getting your battery to where it should be. So this first stage here is what they call save. So if your battery is very heavily sulfated, if it's been completely discharged, if it's in a poor state, then it goes through various electronic wizardry to actually get it to a stage where it can actually take a steady charge. And I think this can take anything, I think, from a few minutes up to a couple of hours actually, if your battery's in a really poor state. And I think you'll see that on this battery I'm going to show you in just a second actually. The next stage then is what they call charge. So again, depending upon what state your battery's in, how big the battery is, it's a very smart charger this. So actually what it can do is it can actually put quite a lot of volts in. And again, I've not got the information just in my head now, but I think it can sort of take up to about something like in the order of 20 volts if your battery will take it. What that results in is actually quite a fast charge in comparison with my old Maypole charger over there, and I was quite surprised yesterday that with quite a seriously big battery, just how fast it actually put a charge into that. Now that can take obviously quite a few hours to actually get the battery fully charged, and then the final stage is what they call an optimize check, which is basically what it's doing. It's the analogy they give you. It's a bit like when you fill a saucepan in the kitchen sink. So you basically have the tap on full, and then you basically really back it off and you start just putting little drips in. So what Optimize does, it just basically sends little pulses of power into the battery to actually just sort of really finish the thing off. Now when the whole thing's finished, then it goes back into a test cycle, and what you'll see is the battery will almost like be sitting there and you think, why isn't it finished? And what it's actually doing, it's actually testing to see whether your battery's holding power. So again, bear in mind, I'm no electrician, so you certainly want to read the instructions yourself, but this is for me, this is what I like about this. So let's plug a battery in. Okay, so this one's been out in the field. This has been attached to the, let's just bring that over a little bit just so you can see that. Okay, so this has been out in the field. This has been attached to the electric fencing for the chickens, and it's completely dead. Just been sat there through all the snow, through all the winter. So let's plug her in. There we go. Okay, we'll attach the crocodile clip attachment. There we go. Got you attached, and then we've got a positive and a negative. Right, we'll switch it on at the wall now. and let's see what happens. So you can see the green lights come on, which means it's on. It's going through a test cycle, and as I understand it, that means it's probably found the problem. Okay, and in the book, actually, what you'll find is there's a series of okay, you can actually see there's a very well laid out chart in terms of telling you what's gone wrong, and you can see it's gone straight from that red test result there, which basically shows that your battery's not feeling particularly well today, and it's gone straight now into the save cycle. Okay, so that's the next stage. And during the save cycle, again, just reading the book here, it's basically going to drip in anywhere between half a volt and 12.4 volts. Looking at the book. So anyway, we'll leave that for a few minutes. As I understand it, that can take up to a couple of hours to actually start to actually run that bit of the test. Okay. So what it actually says in the book is the save mode engages if the battery was more than 60% discharged or is sulfated, which mine definitely was, and according to the book that's going to last anywhere between 15 minutes and a couple of hours. Okay, so and it's going to start doing various stuff to actually get the battery back to a stage. And what we'll see in the next stage then is we'll actually get into the charge cycle, where that middle section will be lit up, and the charge mode engages if the battery can accept current within the normal voltage range. Okay, so again, we'll leave it a few minutes and we'll actually come back and we'll take a look at that. Well, this is interesting. I left the unit, and if you remember where it was before, we had the red save section filled in, and it was still doing that, I would say, after about 30 minutes actually. So I nipped inside for my lunch, and now I've come outside. It's probably maybe an hour and a quarter after I first plugged the thing in. And what I came out to was actually that the optimised section was actually in yellow, which puzzled me a bit, because I was assuming I was going to come back out and find that having saved the battery and done some stuff to actually get it to a stage where it can accept a charge, it would have been on the charge section, and I was expecting the charge section to be lit up, and that wasn't the case. It's gone straight to optimise. And then what I've done is I've actually attached the voltmeter. Again, I'm not an electrician, so please forgive any ignorance. Switch it on first, shall we? Yeah, so what I've done is I've attached the voltmeter, and now it seems that we've got a reading of 12.76, which I guess is reasonably healthy, but it seems to be going through some kind of a test now. So sneaked out to the garage sometime later. It's probably 7 o'clock now, which must be best part of seven hours later since I put this battery on to charge, and you can maybe still make out there we've actually got a green and a yellow on the right hand side. I'm assuming that the charger is going through some kind of a maintenance check on the battery, and I think it can do this for up to sort of 12 to 24 hours. I must be honest, I've read the instructions through at least 3 times now, and I'm still completely baffled by these lights. I did grow up in Blackpool. I suppose I used to watch the Blackpool illuminations. I have no problem at all with those, but the lights on the Optimate 6 are, I must be honest, are a little bit beyond me. So anyway, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I'm just going to believe that this unit's going to do its job. So we're going to leave it for a few more hours. I'll leave it overnight. We'll wake up tomorrow morning, and maybe that yellow light will have disappeared. So if it hasn't, then I'm not quite sure what that means. What's interesting is I think you can see on the voltmeter at the moment it looks like it's clearly pulsing a charge of somewhere between sort of the high 13s and the low 13 volts. Right, following morning now, about 10 o'clock. So I've come out, and again we've got the green light and the solid yellow. So I'm assuming then that this is still on its long-term test. Well, I've got to be honest, after much research and watching at least probably 5 or 10 videos on the meaning of these lights yesterday, I'm still completely baffled. So anyway, I'm just going to trust that the machine's doing what it's supposed to do. So on the voltmeter, we've got a steady 12.69 on there. So the previous little video I showed you was that was pulsing, so that seems to have stopped pulsing. So I'm assuming that this battery, because it was in such a poor condition, I get the impression what the Optimate 6 actually does, it puts it on a long-term test. So I'm just going to leave it plugged in for another 24 hours and see how we get on, see what difference that makes. But at least the battery has come back to life now. So, but I'm assuming that the Optimate is actually testing just to see whether it actually holds its charge over a longer period, and then we'll go into some kind of other diagnostic. But it's very, very complicated. I think what I would have liked to have seen on the Optimate 6 is some kind of a flow chart, actually. I find that when you get a whole load of text in a block that takes you to a test procedure, it's pretty incomprehensible. So, but anyway, it seems to be doing its job. So I'll come back a few hours later on and off out for a ride on the bike now. Right, so it's now 26 hours after the initial charging started. I don't know if you can make that out, but we've got a solid green and a solid yellow on the right hand side. So I've got the multimeter attached, and what that's telling me now is we've now got 13.2627 volts in there. So it looks to me like there is actually something going on in terms of charging there. It looks like it's maybe putting some kind of a trickle in, and that voltage has actually come up, I think, was it 12.6? So there has been a change since this morning when I actually took the bike out for a ride. So clearly something is going on, but the mystery of the lights is still a mystery. Okay, it's 9:15, day 2. You can see on the charger we've still got the solid yellow and the solid green on the right hand side of the test indicator, and the multimeter is showing, looks like it's pulsing again actually. So when I first looked at it, it was actually on 12 and a bit, but it started pulsing again. So this thing is just full of mystery really in terms of what it's actually doing. But it looks like it hasn't given up on the battery yet. It's just trying to get those last bits of value, last bits of power in. So I think we'll just leave it overnight, and then we'll see where it is tomorrow morning. I think we'll call it a day then. So about 42 hours now since the test started. You can see we've still got the solid green, the solid yellow, and it looks like we've more or less stabilised around 12.9 volts. So that looks pretty healthy to me. So I'm going to declare an end to this test now. And I'm going to fit the Optimate to the RT, so that'll be the next part of the film. So there we are. I think that's the result. I'm still not absolutely clear what these lights mean, but I think for me the bottom line is that once you've attached this thing, it goes through a series of for me relatively sort of complex checks and balances. It seems to put a bit of energy into the battery, and then wait and see whether the battery's able to keep it, and then put some more in, and then keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back until it eventually actually stabilises. So my feeling now is that actually the battery is probably as healthy as it's going to be, and we'll leave it at that. So I declare this first test at an end. It's time to fit the Optimate pigtail onto the bike. So I think I mentioned it earlier in the video that the previous owner has fitted a previous version of Optimate, and the little socket on this is actually not compatible with my Optimate, so that's going to have to come off, and this is going to have to go on. So I've already undone the screws from the battery cover, okay, using the screwdriver under the seat. There we are. So that's done. I've taken off this little rubber strap here. It's just fastened onto a couple of pins there, and that then gives us access to the battery. Should also mentioned you clearly have to turn the ignition on the bike off, and if you've got the alarm system fitted, then that has to be switched off as well. So again, BMW's generous toolkit, you get one of these little spanners again under the seat, and the first thing to do is to remove the negative terminal. Yep, so we just remove this terminal screw that seems to be off now. I don't want to drop that inside the bike, so that's one of my bad habits when I'm doing jobs like this. There we are, so we take that off. And I think this cable here must be for the Optimate that I'm going to remove, so we shall get rid of that. And I'm just going to remove this right hand cover as well, just to give myself a little bit more room for access. That just seems to pop out. There we go, a bit more on my bike taken off. Yeah, and there we go. You can see just a little bit more of what we're doing. So I think the sensible thing is to put the existing Optimate back in the place where this one's come off actually. So now it appears on my bike that actually we have the other end of the Optimate cable I'm taking out appears to be attached to something here with a red cap on the end of it. So it seems the sensible thing would be to actually put the new one where that is. So let's unscrew that. There we are, out she comes, with a bit of my bike taken off. Hoping I can put it all back together again. So we'll just take this out. There we go, let's just feed you out of there. So one spare Optimate cable, and as you can see that's not actually compatible with the unit that I bought, so there's a spare unit there. First person to contact me who wants that, I'll stick it in the post to you. As always with these jobs, you need an extra hand, don't you? So there we are. Need to have got that fixed on now. So let's nip you back up. Nice and tight. We fit the red protective cap back on. Okay, keep that little fuse out the way. And let's just feed this through here. There we go, let's reattach the negative terminal. Not quite sure whether I shall have to reset any of the electrics on the bike after this. We shall find out. Okay, so just refit the rubber retaining strap now, giant elastic band really. Okay, and that's going to hold everything into place. Right, so now I just want to feed this where I can get to it. So I think we'll come around here and through here. Well, I think that's job done then. Waterproof cover on just for a second. Okay, so there we go, that's that done. So let's put the side panel back on. There we go. You will sit there. Okay, and then if we fit, give it a quick visual check. That cover's on, screws nice and tight, elastic band's in place. The bike's looking a bit damp by the way, it's because I've just washed it. larger of the two covers back on. There we go. Okay, job done. I guess like many of you, I actually downloaded a PDF copy of the RT handbook. I did that actually before I got the bike, so I wanted to read it. Didn't realise it was going to be 200 pages, mind. And I'm actually using that in the workshop now, so keeping my the workshop manual that came with the bike, keeping it in a nice sort of pristine condition for sort of reading in the house, really. So so I've just found that's quite a useful tip, really, just to do that. So anyway, if you take a look down here now, let's just zoom you in a little bit. There we are. You can see we've got the new Optimate cable fitted. We've taken the other one off, and just to show you again, you see that seems to be the old-fashioned version, and this seems to be the newer version, which I guess is maybe just a little bit more of a secure fit actually. So let's attach the Optimate and see what happens. Okay, so I've plugged you in. Let's plug the Optimate in and we'll see what happens. That looks good. Solid green means it's on, and to me that looks like the battery's in peak condition. Needs a little bit of a charge though. But I've got a couple of greens there on the test. So it's gone into a charge cycle. I took the bike out for a 65-mile run yesterday around Leicestershire, and so I imagine the battery must be fully charged up. I wasn't using heated seat or grips, so I imagine the battery's in a pretty healthy state. So it's gone, as you can see, very quickly from charge into an optimised cycle. So it looks to me like things are pretty healthy there. So anyway, as usual, I'll give it a few hours, I'll come back and we'll see where we are. An hour or so later now, we've got two flashing greens, so again some kind of a test going on here, I guess, just to see whether the battery's holding its charge, and then the Optimate will move on to the next stage. I think I'm going to draw a line there actually, because for me, I know the bike's battery is healthy. I've got all greens there. I'm assuming if I could wait quite a bit longer, but it would make for a really boring video, so I think we'll draw a line. So we've seen how the Optimate works very well on the bench with a ride-on tractor battery, with a couple of leisure batteries. We've seen it go through sort of a 48-hour check there, and we've also seen it's relatively straightforward for even somebody as mechanically illiterate as me to attach the Optimate pigtail to the BMW RT as well, and that was actually my first sort of covers off type job on the job. So again, very simple I guess for some of you folks out there, and actually relatively simple for me once I knew what I was doing. So there we are, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think, and any comments. If you've got any insights, any revelations, any understanding that you've gained about the way these lights operate, then please stick it in the comments and let's learn together. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.